Hey everyone, Alex here, and today we're going to be reviewing The Batman, which I just got back from seeing last night. And this is going to be a very interesting review because my opinion definitely differs from those of everyone else that I've listened to so far. Definitely the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is 85 critic at the moment, 93 audience at the moment that I'm recording Friday morning, March the 4th. And I have to say, I really did not like this movie. I'm not sure why people think it's as great as it is. And I went in thinking it was going to be very solid because I definitely liked the angle that I was getting from it. The idea that the Riddler was going to be like this Zodiac killer kind of character. And Robert Pattinson as Batman, I was actually into because I like Robert Pattinson as an actor and things he's done, like Lost City of Z, and I forget the name of that 9/11 movie that he does, but that one's really good too. I think he's a good actor outside of the Twilight films, and I thought he was gonna nail this character. But sadly, it's not any of the actors' fault. It's the script and the pacing and the tone of the movie that really do hurt it, I feel. And what I mean by that is it's super moody, would be one of my main critiques, because they go with this super dark, super emo style Gotham and Batman that I am just not into. The first 10-15 minutes of the movie had me at I liked what they were doing with Batman there. I liked the Riddler and what they were doing with him up to that point. Again, with the Zodiac Killer leaving ciphers and all that. I was interested in that. But then they get super moody with it, like Bruce Wayne, which Robert Pattinson is Bruce Wayne in like 2 minutes of this movie, which we'll talk about later. That hurts the movie as well. But as Bruce Wayne, he says to Alfred, basically, "You're not my real dad," which is super just. It took me out of the movie. Up to that point, I was like, you know what? I buy him as Batman. Let's see what he does as Bruce Wayne. And then I'm like, God, no, this is so over the top with how like, oh look at me, I'm so serious. Like that's the angle of the movie. And it's like, no, I can't take you serious now that you're acting like this. And then they play Something in the Way by Nirvana, which is a song off the Nevermind album. It's a good song, but like they play it twice in the film, and it's one of those things that I just see through what you're doing. They're playing it, and it's supposed to be like, oh, look at my music taste. I'm so, I'm so hurt and so scarred, and I feel so much pain. I'm vengeance, and I'm like, dude, you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard. That's a big problem with this movie. It tries too hard to try to be moody and brooding, and that takes away from a lot of the things that it has going for it. Another thing that, and this is probably my main problem, is that none of the characters, we never get to see their normal non-alter ego sides. So we don't get to see Bruce Wayne, we only see Batman. We don't get to see Selena Kyle, we only see Catwoman. We only see the Penguin as the Penguin. We only see the Riddler as the Riddler. We never get to see what these people are like outside of their masks, their alter egos, and that really makes it so you can't connect with a character. Like, I did not care what was going on with Batman or Catwoman because I did not know who they were as people. I did not get to connect with them as people. Like, what is Bruce Wayne in this movie? Batman's not a person in this movie. He's just the superhero side of him, which is such a shame because that's the most interesting part of Batman, is this dichotomy between Bruce Wayne and Batman, and how does this person live being both of these people. And that's the most interesting part, I thought, about watching an actor play Batman, is seeing how they play Bruce Wayne and how they play Batman. And that's something that I think Christian Bale and even Ben Affleck nailed before. And I'm not saying Robert Pattinson couldn't do it. I'm just saying it's the script's fault because it never gives him a chance to do it. Like, I don't know, Christian Bale, one of my favorite scenes that a Bruce Wayne has in any Batman film is when Christian Bale goes to this hotel restaurant place, and Batman Begins, and he has these two supermodels with him, and they decide to swim in the fountain, and the waiter's like, "So your people can't swim in that fountain," and Bruce Wayne buys the hotel, he like writes a check and puts it in. He's like, "I'm changing the rules about the fountain place," and that's so Bruce Wayne. It's over the top, billionaire playboy, kind of doesn't really care what's going on in the world, and it's interesting to see that side, watch an actor pull that off, and then watch him also be Batman, where it's like, no, I'm gonna sacrifice my life for this city. These are two completely different people that I am, and that's the interesting part for me about Batman, and you do not get this in the movie. It's entirely Batman, and Batman's entirely trying too hard to be moody. Next, about the Riddler, and if you hear something beeping, it's the mailman outside. But the Riddler. So I really thought he was going to be the Zodiac killer, and it was going to be a suspense movie, kind of like Seven, where it's like, who's the killer? What does he want? Who's going to be his next victim? And you immediately find out what he wants. They tell you who his next victim's going to be constantly throughout the movie. And then once you figure out who he is, like, that's who he is. You know, there's no really suspense about who he is. It doesn't matter who he is. And then they show you who he is, and it's like, that's who he is. And then you're like, oh, cool, I guess that's done. And that's just so disappointing. I really thought this movie, you could have cut 45 minutes, 30 minutes out of this movie, made it a more enjoyable, like 2 hours, 15 minutes. And you could have done away with the Penguin, Falcone, and Catwoman, and just made it about Batman trying to catch the Riddler, and the Riddler is this Zodiac killer type of character, but instead the Riddler's barely on screen. Some parts of the time on screen he is like a Zodiac killer, the next part he is just over the top, and it's just so annoying for me. And another problem that I had with the Riddler is this over the top nature. And I explain it like this: when your character's trying to be unnerving, or a character is trying to come off as scary, they should not yell when they're trying to make a point. That is not unnerving, and that is not scary when someone yells like that. It is unnerving and it is scary when someone gets quiet, and they make the point, and they make it very coldly, and they make it very unemotionally, and they're quiet about it. Thank Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. He's not screaming, but he is so creepy. Thank the Joker in The Dark Knight. Never does the Joker start yelling and raising his voice when he's trying to make a point to someone. He gets quiet, he just eats at you, and it is creepy, and it is unnerving to watch him. But the Riddler just starts screaming, and you're like, you're just some crazy guy. I would not be afraid to, like, have to stand across from you. You're just screaming. Like, that's not unnerving. It's unnerving when someone is quiet. And that just took me out of the Riddler entirely. So, that's about it for my main problems. You do not get to know the characters. Like, you do not get invested in the actual people that are Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. The Riddler is not unnerving. He is over the top. He is not scary at all. He's also barely in the movie, which is a shame. I think they try to do too much at one time with all the characters that are in it. I felt like the entire movie was trying to be too moody, as they just try to hammer home all of this, like, oh, it's so brooding, and we're so, moody and emo, and they never landed. It seems so, like, it just seems so falsified, this air of mood that they're trying to go for. And the last thing that it does, that's a cardinal sin in cinema for me, is telling and not showing the audience stuff. It is good screenwriting when you show and not tell. When the audience figures something out because you showed it to them instead of telling it. And this movie will tell you things, and it will never show you those things. And a prime example of this for me is Batman being vengeance. They say it over and over again in the movie that Batman is vengeance. But what they never show you is Batman being vengeance. He does not come off as someone who is, going to throw down with a group of thugs in an alleyway. He does not give off this fear that they tell you he does. They say people are afraid of him. They say he's vengeance, but they do not show you that. In the Nolan trilogy, how they show you that Batman is someone that you do not want to have coming after you. That is not what they do in this film. In the Nolan trilogy, he gets that one guy, and that swear to me line that he has, that is like, Jesus, this guy, don't swear to God, swear to him. You better, make sure you don't lie to this guy. And he also has that one scene in The Dark Knight in the nightclub where he goes after, I think it's Maroni, who he thinks killed Gordon, and he just destroys everybody in the nightclub, gets to him, and it has this presence. It's like, this is something you should be afraid of. But in the Batman, they just tell you that. They say people are afraid of him, but they never show you why they should be. So that's about it for this review. I really liked Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Sadly, I don't think the Penguin or Catwoman or Falcon needed to be in this movie, but I really like Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I didn't like Catwoman too much, and I think that's really because they never we never get to hang out with Selena Kyle. We just get to hang out with Catwoman, and that just takes away from, being invested or emotionally attached to this character. That's something that this movie does not do. So, final verdict. I'm not really sure how to score movies on this channel, but I'm just going to go out of a 10, 1 to 10 system, because that seems the most understood, and I'm going to give it a 3. This movie is not awful. It is... we're going to go with awful. I'm not going to say it's god-awful. It's just awful. It was bad. I checked my watch probably a dozen times in this movie. It's 3 hours long. I would avoid watching this movie. It is not what people are saying it is, at least to me. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll probably be posting a video ranking all my live action Batman movies, with this one included in it, so be sure to check that out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.